Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to crochet this super cute Hello Kitty inspired hat. You're going to need two different colors of yarn. For the sake of this tutorial, I used gray and pink, but definitely feel free to use the traditional white and pink. You're also going to need a 5.5mm hook and some scissors. To begin, you're going to start by crocheting a chain of 78. This chain is going to be the foundation of your hat. Once you have your chain of 78, you're going to connect the two ends together by slip stitching into the first chain and then chaining 2. Then you're going to place 1 double crochet in every space all the way around until you reach the beginning again. Once you reach the end, you're going to place a slip stitch into the beginning of the chain 2 that you originally made and chain 2 again. This is now row 1 of your hat. You're then going to place 1 double crochet in every space all the way around again until you reach the end, slip stitch and chain 2, and you're going to do this for a total of 10 rows. This part is optional, but at the end of your rows, once you chain 2, you can turn your work and continue the pattern as normal. If you choose not to do this, it's not going to disturb the pattern at all. This is just something I like to do when I feel like crocheting is getting a little bit tedious. Once you've reached your 10 rows, you're going to close off by chaining 1, cutting your work, and pulling the yarn tight to secure the knot. And now it is time to stitch up the top to create the cat ears. You want to flip the project inside out and make sure that your starting chain, where this little triangle is at the bottom of your hat, because we're going to put the ruffles around it to conceal this part. Now, taking a long piece of yarn and a crochet hook, or you could use a tapestry needle, you're going to single crochet the top of the hat closed, or you could just sew it closed if you're using the needle. You want to make sure that you're going through the V's at the top of the hat. You don't have to go through all of them, but just make sure that the hat is secure and that there's no gaps. To secure the closure, you're going to chain 1, cut your end, and pull the yarn tight. You then want to flip the hat inside out and poke the corners of the hat to reveal the cat ears. Now it's time to add the ruffles to the base of the hat. So here I'm just tying my working yarn to this tail end that I have so that I have less ends to weave in, but you don't have to do this. You can just attach your yarn to the base and get started. You're going to insert your hook, chain 2, and place 2 double crochets in every space all the way around the base of the hat. Now, since the base of the hat is a chain, you're kind of going to have to discern where to put your 2 stitches. I don't recommend putting them super close together, but you also don't want them so far apart that it creates gaps in the hat. So at the end of this row, I had a little gap, so I just decided to place 2 double crochets in the chain space instead of in the chain itself. You then want to slip stitch into the top of your chain 2, chain 2 again, and place 1 double crochet in the same space that you just placed your chain 2. Your chain 2 is going to act as your first double crochet, and then of course the second double crochet is going to create the 2 double crochets in one space. You're then going to place 2 double crochets in every space all the way around, and you're going to do this for a total of 3 rows. So this right now is row 2, and we're going to do it for 1 more row after this to create full ruffles around the base of the hat. Once you reach the end, you're going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 2, chain 1, and then cut off your yarn and pull to tighten. And now that we have our ruffle hat, it is time to make the bow. So when I originally made this hat, I watched a video on how to make a bow, and I will link that tutorial down below. But for the sake of this tutorial, I just decided to freehand a pattern. So you want to start with a chain of 9, and using half double crochets, you're going to crochet into the second space from the chain. And at the end of this chain, you should have 8 half double crochets total. At the end, you want to chain 1, turn your work, and place a half double crochet in every space all the way down the chain. Chain 1 again, and you're going to repeat this for a total of 13 rows. Once you've done your 13 rows, you're going to flip your work and place a slip stitch along the edge of the rectangle. You don't have to do this, but it just makes it look a little bit neater. And once you're done, you're going to cut and weave in your ends to the back of the rectangle. Now once you have your rectangle, you're going to fold it in thirds like I'm showing here. And you want to take a long piece of yarn and wrap it around the center of the bow. You want to try to get this wrapping as centered as possible so that the ends of the bow are even, and you can also play around with the shape a little bit. And this piece of yarn doesn't have to be super long, you just want to make sure it's long enough to wrap around the center of the bow a few times. So once it was about done, I flipped the bow upside down so that the yarn can stay secure, and I took the loop and I fed the 2 ends of the yarn through and tied a double or triple knot to secure the ends. You want to make sure you tie this knot on the back side of your bow. Once you're done, you want to cut your ends, and you can play around with the shape of the bow a bit. Like I said, this was a freehand pattern, so I made this up on the fly, but I think the bow still looks really good, and it's cute, and it doesn't take super long to do. Now you're going to decide which side you want the bow to sit on. I have mine placed on the left side. And taking a piece of yarn that is about the length of the hat doubled over, you're going to sew the bow into the inside of the hat. So I like to secure my yarn to my tapestry needle by making a single knot so that it just doesn't fall off. Then while holding the bow in place, you're going to insert the tapestry needle into the first layer of the hat from the back side. You want to make sure you're not sewing through both layers, just through the front layer of the hat and the bow. And you want to tack it down wherever you feel necessary. I did tacks on both sides of the bow through the back. And you can also tack down the 4 corners if you want your bow to lay flat. Another trick is to not make your stitches super far apart because they'll be visible through the half double crochets. So I made sure that when I was tacking my bow down, I did pretty small stitches in about the same area. And again, while holding your bow in place, you're going to flip the hat and make sure that the bow is secure on the back side. I also made sure to grab a little piece of the pink yarn just to make sure that the bow is secure, and wove it through the gray stitches and tied knots just to secure the bow. So once you feel like you've sewn down your bow enough, you're going to cut your yarn and you are done. You now have a super cute Hello Kitty inspired crocheted hat. That is it for today's tutorial. Again, let me know what other tutorials you'd like for me to make. I do think that this would help to lay down by tacking down the 4 corners when you're sewing it in, but Still super cute hat. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.